right, Coach, I think we're ready to get started. Why don't you first just get us started with your opening thoughts on the class?
Yeah, like everybody else in the country today, we like our class. Like, I always find it humorous. You know, what do you think about the class is always the first question. It's like, well, we recruited them, so we obviously like them, and we're certainly not going to tell you we don't like them. So, but no, I said it earlier on the TV show, like, as times change in college football, um, there's pros and cons to everything. You know, obviously the transfer rules with all these kids transferring. Um, there's less high school kids getting taken, which is obviously can be viewed as a negative. And I say, you know, I tell our staff, like, if the Power Fives are taking less high school kids, there's better, you know, there's kids we can get that we used to not get, you know, and I think there's a number of kids in this class that 5 years ago had the height, had the length, had the size, had the speed to end up in the Big Ten, but the Big Ten's taking less players, you know, and the Big Ten's so. But the SEC's taking less players, and everybody's taking less high school players. So we still want our background to be high school players, the heart and soul of our team be high school players. We've done very good with transfers. We got a lot of transfers that helped us have a great year this year, but 80% of our roster is, you know, high school players within 5 yards here. So we like the group. We think it's the longest. We think it has the most size and most athleticism any group we've had in 10 years here. And I think that's partly because of our program and how good we've done, and we're recruiting better and better players, and then partly because I just think there's more Power 5 bodies available than there's ever been before, and you got to be able to take advantage of that if you're not a Power 5 guy, which we aren't. So we're really excited about the class, like everybody is today. It's like asking how the surgery went. You never hear, well, it went terrible. Been dealing with a lot of surgeries for a lot of years, and when you ask the surgeon, that was great. It's kind of like the signing class. But we really like this group. Standard for us, like almost every one of these kids was a captain. Almost every one of these kids is a good student. Almost every one of these kids is from a really good program, from a really good home, from a really good family. So the things we look for every year never changes. You're looking for talent, but you're also looking for, I don't say you're looking for, but we're looking for at Miami, people that fit Miami, people that fit academically here, people that fit socially here, people that fit who we are as a football program. We always talk about kids that want to do extra. Like, we want to recruit kids that are going to spend more than 20 hours in season, more than 8 hours out of season on football. And you can find them, kids that love the game and want to do, you know, that you got to shoo them out of the weight room, that they're coming in on the weekends and they're going to our indoor and they're throwing the ball around. They're always in here watching tape, and they're always trying to be better. So we think we have as much size and speed and raw materials in this class as we've ever had, and we hope that we're right on the mark with these kids, that they really love the game and they want to do extra, and they're going to compete really hard for Miami football. So that's my opening statement.
A lot of times as the date comes up here for the signing, there's a lot of scrambling going on. You had a bowl game, though, that you had to prep for just as soon as you ended the championship in that. So it's kind of a crowded area in there. Did that affect your ability to lock things up? It kind of looked like maybe you had most of these people locked down well in advance.
Yeah, most of the people on this list have been committed to Miami for a long time. We did add some the last weekend, so it was a MAC championship game on the 2nd. We found out the 3rd we're going to play in the Cure Bowl on the 16th. We already had our official visit weekend scheduled for the 9th. And then you had to add bowl practice, so everybody says, hey, did you get to take a breath after the MAC championship game? We were hoping to, but with the early bowl game, it was probably the busiest week of the year with getting ready to just have your team go to Florida in a short period of time. Usually road trips aren't a big deal, but usually we have a year to plan them. You know, we had 2 days to plan and figure out what we're doing down in Florida. And then we had bowl practice, then we had the official vid week, and then you just had the end of the recruiting cycle, which is a busy time in and of itself. So it was an extremely busy last 2 weeks. We managed it good. My ops guy, Matt Yochis, really handled the lion's share of, between the official visit weekend, which he has a lot of organization to do, and the bowl trip made it a great time for all of us to enjoy the bowl where he basically worked. But yeah, we got through the official visit weekend. We did add a few names on this list were kids that committed that weekend, which was good. There was other kids we could have probably got committed that weekend. We just didn't have any money available at this time that we really liked. And we finished strong. We didn't lose anybody at the 11th hour, which was good. Everybody signed that we were hopeful was going to sign, so that's what everybody's hoping. And there is some flipping late, but our group stayed with us, and a lot of them had calls from Power 5 schools late about taking visits, and they didn't take them, and it worked out good for us.
With the transfer portal, with the COVID rules, with all the other stuff that's been going on, can you give us an idea of how many players you lost from this past season from the roster?
In like the last calendar year? Or just recently?
Just recently.
Yeah, just probably 3 to 5. So we haven't lost many, thank goodness.
Not to graduation or anything?
Oh, graduation, yeah, we lost. Yeah, how many did we lose? Players, one offensively, on offense, Ben Jackson, Miles Marshall, Joe Wilkins. That's 3 on offense. I think that's it on offense. Oh, no, Luke Bolden, 4, Jack DeGerald, 5. And then defensively, Michael Dowell, 6, Earl, 7, Tony Collier, 8, Frizz, 9. So not a ton, We potentially could have, we played 6 wideouts. We lost 2 of our top 6. So I don't know who was a starter, who was a backup there, but we played 6 regularly. Obviously, Joe and Miles had a lot to, we lost Luke and Jack at tight end, but we're getting Coldy back at tight end. So, and then pretty much everybody else besides Ben Jackson's back up at O-line and running backs, and as of now, and then defensively, you just lost those kids we mentioned. So we haven't had a lot of losses as of today, knock on wood. So I would say it's day to day, it's minute by minute now in college football. What your roster looks like, it used to be, you had seniors and you had 2, running backs who were seniors, and you wanted to replace them with 2 freshman running backs, and the cycle just kept. Now it's day by day. You wake up and you look at your roster, and it's roster management. It's 365 days a year, and you can't really forecast, and you can't really plan ahead. We had a plan ahead really to have some kids come in, and we didn't have as much money as we thought we'd have, which was a good thing, not a bad thing. But we kind of planned that we're going to have some more money at the end of the year, and there's some kids that actually visited that we really liked and wanted, but just didn't have scholarships for them right now. So, which again, that's a good problem, not a bad problem. But so it's forecasting and managing your roster is there. I don't know if anybody has an answer. I'd like to talk to them. But just you wake up in the morning, you check your emails, you look at your team, and you go from there. It's a daily chore nowadays with the transfer issues.
I'm not sure that with incoming freshmen there ever was such a thing as recruiting for need, but with the transfer portal, that's probably even less the case. So when you're looking at recruiting, I guess you're kind of got a rough idea of the building blocks that you want to have, projecting down the line, more or less.
Yeah, we said it earlier today, like it starts with talent. You're looking for talented kids that can do the job, whether it be a DB or O lineman or any position. You're looking for versatility, which I think there's a lot of versatility in this class. You're looking for competitiveness, toughness, love of the game, a kid that you think will be able to take some coaching, because we like to coach them here. And then a kid that wants to do extra, wants to do extra in the classroom, wants to do extra on the field, wants to do extra in the weight room, so those things we're always looking for, and we're trying to add that to our program, and it's hard to find all those things. That's a lot to ask out of a young kid, but those are all the things we're looking for. Like you said, when I first got here, we were looking for guys to come help us right away. Like even now you got a transfer portal, which you can fill some immediate needs with that, obviously, and we have filled immediate needs at different times with that. But just like any good program, we've got to a point now that it's not impossible for a freshman to play. Rayon Strader's a freshman All-American and filled a huge void for us. But the better your program, the less holes you have to fill. The more you have guys in your program that are ready to step in and take on those roles from people that have left. So it's still possible for young guys to play. It's harder and harder. And but I think there's guys in this class that we're certainly get in the mix and have a role on our team next year.
Hi, Coach.
How are
Corey
you doing?
Stewart, Cincinnati Enquirer. Wanted to hear a little bit about Indiana's Mr. Football coming to y'all, Josh Ringer.
Yeah.
Big name in the area, coming off 2 consecutive state wins. How is he going to fit into your program?
Yeah, no, we're obviously ecstatic. When I was talking earlier about kids that there's better kids available now than ever, he's one of them. Obviously, he's Mr. Football in the state of Indiana, back-to-back state titles. 60 touchdowns in one season is, again, like I said earlier, I can't even wrap my brain around that. Like, he has 118 touchdowns in his high school career. I can't wrap my brain around that. That's more than most high schools score in 4 years, let alone. And he's, there's people in his family that want him to play safety in college. So, and he's that gifted. Like, he played limited defense for them. They didn't need him to, but he was really good over there when they did, especially as a younger kid. He played more defense. Obviously, when he was scoring touchdown after touchdown, they saved him for offense. So he gives us a lot of versatility. He's also a great pass catcher, which they showcase some, but when you can just hand the ball to him and let him run for touchdowns, you don't really have to throw the pass, but he's still a really good receiver. So he not only super talented from a great program, which is always important, get kids that have played in Lucas Oil in big games and succeeded in big moments. Those are huge benefits when you're transitioning to college, but also his versatility. I think he can play safety, receiver, running back. He's just such a talented young man, and we're very fortunate that we've convinced him to come hang out with us for a little while.
Thank you, Chris.
Along those lines, he's over there from the Lawrenceburg area, looking at kind of local kids. He had one from Elder and then one from Covington and that. How are those guys looking for you coming in?
Yeah, obviously Shores is a really good player. He's another one that I think times have changed in recruiting, and he's a tremendously big physical offensive lineman that's really well schooled. Like I said earlier today, you get a kid from Elder, they're really well coached. So not every kid has the same opportunities to prepare for college. Coach Ramsey's program is, if you get a kid that they got really good coach, like he technically is way ahead of a lot of high school kids, and he understands run footwork, and understands pass blocking, and then Elder, it's a who's who every week. They play the best team, so whether it be the GCL, those like the other 7 games, they can't find anybody to play, so they're playing teams from Indianapolis and Kentucky and Lord knows Florida, wherever else they can get games. So you get kids from those programs. He's done nothing but playing big games his whole career. I mean, his regular season are big games. They're like, sometimes the regular season for the GCL teams are tougher than the postseason just because you're playing. So he's played in so many of those big moments, and there'll still be a transition in college, but the transition's easier for those kids that have played in those great programs. So obviously, really, really excited him. And then Brock Rice, obviously from Dixie Heights, right down the road. He's 6'2.5", 230, and can run like the wind. That kid 5-10 years ago, probably untouchable, but just times have changed with recruiting, and the big boys are taking less high school kids, and they're looking for, they'd rather get in the portal and take Brock Rice 2 years from now, but again, 28 tackles in one game, that's like a lot of these kids did things that I've never seen, in 180 tackles in a year, and blocking kicks for touchdowns, and he's a pitcher on the baseball team, and he plays some left field. I don't know how good a left fielder he is, but he does go out there and play left field at 6'3", 230. There's not a lot of high school left fielders as big as Brock Rice, so, but he loves to play and compete, and he can run for a kid his size, and obviously, anytime we get the local kids, it's even more exciting. We've done good in that Covington area. There's a lot of talent in that area down there, so we've tapped into it pretty good.
Have you scheduled spring practice yet?
We're tentatively scheduled. I think the spring game, we're talking potentially April 20th, and I think our spring break is the last week in March, so I think like the second week in March we'll be starting. We don't have the dates exactly set, but I think we're going to go 2 weeks before spring break and then 3 weeks after spring break. So if you count back the 3 weeks from the 20th, we'll be on spring break, and then the 2 weeks before that, we'll start sometime in those 2 weeks. So kind of our standard time, but I think tentatively, until I hear something different, we're always checking, there's other things going on in the spring from an athletic department, so we're always trying to figure out what's the best way to fit everything in together. There seems to be an open window then, so we're thinking April 20th right now.
Anybody else have questions? Mike, go ahead. You're fine.
Just a quick comment on, with having a successful season like this, being in some, those big TV games and championships and stuff like that, are you getting any feedback from either the players that you're recruiting, potential transfers or coaches and things like that, where that may be helping you out?
Yeah, no doubt. It helps everyone. Good seasons help everyone in recruiting. And then when you get that extra exposure, there's only, we play those 12 regular season games, and championship weekend, there's only 10 games that weekend. And it's the 5 Power 5. Next year it'll only be 9 games because there's only be 4 Power 5s and 5 G5, whatever they call. And so you get, there's exposure all year, but when there's 70 college games every weekend, you're one of 70 and you're in the MAC, and that's where the MACtion helps us because we get some extra exposure there. But then having that last championship weekend, there's more eyes on us that weekend than there is all year. And then obviously to play well at, all eyes are on you, play bad, it doesn't necessarily always help you as much, but you play really good, and so from recruiting, it definitely, even late, we were getting calls from some kids that kind of had passed us by, and like, hey, would you be interested? And we're like, well, we were interested the first time. Like, you were maybe too good for us at that time, not in a bad way, but then it's like, well, the team I was they weren't very good, and you guys were, and maybe I just rethinking it. So it definitely helps. And then I can't speak for these kids because they never tell you what they're thinking, but if there was any indecision, we obviously signed all the kids we thought were signed. So that's always, like, as you're trying to secure your class, we had no defections. There's typically going to be 1 or 2 defections late. That's just normal, but probably the success we had led to us not having any defections. So, and then obviously the other piece is in-house. Like, the toughest guys to recruit nowadays with the transfer portal are your own players, so just the amount of kids right now that are planning on staying and coming back again another year, I think more than important than anything is the success. Like, they had a blast this year and they want to do it again, and they think they can make a run as that get that G5 bid into the top 12. They think we have a nucleus that we were close this year, and if everybody comes back, why wouldn't we be better and have even a better team next year? And maybe we do something that would be even cooler than what we accomplished this year. So that success is always important. And then you have conference champion success, and you're one of 10 conference champions in the whole country. It really, and then springboard into next year, which we're rolling. We got junior days coming up in January when we open back for business. And, we're already anticipating our junior days will be bigger than ever based on, coming off a championship season.
Okay. So you've talked a bit about how the talent pool has gone up. Y'all are on an upswing performance-wise. What does that change about your coaching coming into next year, having a better, solid group and a really good group coming in?
We probably won't change very much. We're kind of who we are. The biggest thing when you come off successful seasons, and we've been fortunate, we've had a lot of successful seasons, is it's hard to repeat at anything in this world. You can look at any sport or anything in life, it's just hard. This year we had a pretty big chip on our shoulder. We were predicted second on our side. We didn't like that. And, we were underdog in some games, and we didn't like that. And then when we lost our quarterback, kind of everybody left us for dead a little bit. We didn't like that. Then the all-conference voting came out, and we had 2 guys on first-team all-league. We didn't like that. So there's always something. Well, next year there's a good chance we'll be predicted higher in the league because whoever wins it last year always gets predicted for. That's kind of standard operating procedures. And, preseason, we'll probably have more preseason accolades than we did this year because we got a lot of good players coming back. And then you just normally, you work so hard to get to the top of the mountain. You get to the top of the mountain, you just want it to be easy to stay there. It's not easy to stay. You start at the bottom of the mountain, roll your way up again. So just the complacency piece and the fat and happy piece and again, I'm not saying teams don't work hard. They still work hard, but do they do that little, do they come in Tuesday night, watch some extra tape, or do they think, well, we did this last year, we're just going to do it again? Well, that's the norm. That's why all these great players throughout all the years and all these great teams hardly ever do it back to back, even though they may do it every third year or every, like, how many titles has LeBron won? You know, like, again, nobody works harder. Like, but it's so hard to do and have a championship season. We talk about even at Miami, like the storied history of Miami and all the great coaches and great players and NFL players, and it's hard to get there all the way and win it, you know. So that'll be the biggest thing of, you know, starting in January. We'll be talking about that every 5 minutes, and, you know, we're going to want it to be easier. It's human nature. You have success, you want to replicate the success, but you don't necessarily want to put in the same price you did have it, because you think, hey, and you think you can flip the switch then, because you know you can do it because you've done it. So now you're trying to teach 18 to 22-year-old kids that you got to work hard next year, because we had games this year we talked about. We lost to Buffalo a year ago. The week we played Buffalo, we talked about that they beat us a year ago. That was part of our preparation. Like, they got us 24-21 in the last 30 seconds, you know. And we talked about Bowling Green game. They got you last year, so this, we owe them, you know. And then we talked about OU. They got us last. So part of that, too, is it gives you just that little, you know, and you're talking about really close games that are going to be decided by 1 or 2 plays. And if you just have that, so next year, what is everybody going to be talking about us, right? And some of the teams in our league, we got pretty good this year. Like, it wasn't, you know, we got after them, and it was, so they're even going to have a bigger chip to say, hey, they're not this year. You know, we're going to show them that last year was last year and this year, and they're going to be a little bit, well, we beat them last year by a score, and they're not very good. That's human nature. So fighting that complacency is the hardest thing to do in sports when you have success, and just not, you know, why wouldn't we want it to be easier? It'd be wonderful if it's just as easier and we can win the championship. We work half as hard and we win the championship again. Well, who wouldn't sign up for that, right? That's wonderful. But it's not, you're around sports to know enough that all these, you know, the Nuggets are going to repeat. Nuggets ain't going to repeat. You know, you go through the sports, because every year the odds come out and they're the lowest odds, and I laugh. I'm like, they should be not the lowest odds. But on paper they should repeat, but they're not going to, because no one does. Just so hard to do it. You know, it's hard to get there in any sport, and it just, a lot of things have to go your way.
Everybody good? Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.